And we are live. All right. I'm going to pour myself some coffee while we wait here.
1 minute away now until we get the markets on open imbalance and the US cash equity.
1 minute to open. Pour myself some coffee. Alrighty. Let's see what we got going on here. I gotta flip on this. Our levels are already set.
The US and Europe are on the same
We are nowhere really near overnight lows. Previous day, we had a really tight range overnight, so not a lot going on right now. Obviously, FOMC day is going to be a little bit lower, clean opportunities. So just be patient, be calm into the open, and don't do dumb shit. That's the mug of the day today.
Dow 30, buy side 43 million.
Again, nothing really moving on the open there. So still nothing crazy. Same type of setups as always. Looking to fade the extremes, especially on the FOMC day. You want this, right? This is a 30-minute chart. You see all overnight, just tight range. You had a nice trend the day before, same day prior. Volatility here. Spike up on open, and I guess that was on the AMD earnings. What's AMD? AMD popped on the earnings. Nvidia selling off right away. Not super crazy heavy though. Microsoft just opened and is basically sitting in between a range. So we're below the weekly anchored VWAP. That's the white line. above the all-time high anchored VWAP again. So if we do get back down there again, I would take that shot one more time, especially pre-FOMC. My job here today is to keep myself and anybody else from doing dumb shit, sitting in the middle, diddling in the middle. So yeah, we are just gonna be chilling for now. Not a lot to do for me. Like I said, we have the FOMC meeting minutes today. We also have, I guess we'll call it, the mortgage rate and crude oil changes inventories at 9:30. If you're an oil trader, you got crude inventories at 9:30. I don't think the decision for the rate is going to be anything. It's going to be a nothing burger. You're just going to wait for that Powell presser afterwards to see what he's got to say. And
other equity names out of
yeah, this is, like I mentioned, I will tag this so you can know what it is.
Revenue misses Miss Cloud's upbeat forecast.
White line here is weak.
Says security posture of the last 20 years is not adequate for the next 20 years.
That's from open on Sunday. Same on this one. So just so you have an idea of what the colors mean on these charts, on these lines and stuff like that. So like I said, nothing special. Very simple levels using these average volume weighted prices to kind of help dictate direction, mentality for the session, right? Right now, like I said, this is 30-minute charts. When I switch to these, and then when I go back to these are 1 minute. We don't have a ton going on right now. Right, 19,900, obviously key psychological level. I have the overnight low as the open at 1,700 right here, and then previous day low is right down there. Our S&P levels are a little bit tighter. You can see overnight low basically was the previous day low. You could call this, you could call that overnight low, but that's really not. It's just a wick. I mean, all of this is going to be relatively a zone, so I don't necessarily go crazy with it. That's post-market whippy behavior. Pretty much same plan as yesterday. I want to see that anchored VWAP from the all-time high hold. Really, I don't expect directionality. I don't expect breakout stuff to happen during this session because of the lack of people wanting to participate in pre-FOMC nonsense, liquidity, and they just don't want to be caught off sides in if there's a rate cut or if there's any sort of surprise in the press conference or anything like that. They don't want to be caught off sides. So that's what's going on there right now. Like I said, just hanging out. While we have a little pause, I got good news from the TFD. We got moved over to past the assessment phase, so now we're just building a little bit of a buffer so we can start executing on the live account. So that's a nice step in the right direction. You know, they are willing to work with their traders, so anytime you get a chance to get in there, give it a shot, it's definitely worth it, I would say. But like I said, right now there's nothing going on, so I'm gonna just chill. Hopefully this can get down into that level. Nvidia is selling into kind of the congestion area from yesterday, pretty much pre-market Monday all the way through yesterday. The 112.65, 112.50 up to 112.70 is a decent zone for Nvidia to kind of run into some support. Could we flush it and then come back above it? That could help. like I said, our thesis yesterday was helped
USVP vol-
that way. Nothing doing right now. Oh, remind me later. Gotta update Windows.
USVP Vaughn says there is a big gulf between where the Ukrainians and the Russians are.
No news on the wire. Trump yesterday did mention that he was going to have some positive, earth-breaking, groundbreaking news. So we'll see what that's all about.
USVP Vaughn says it's probably hard to remediate this without at least some direct negotiation between Russia and Ukraine.
Very, very, like I said, low volume, not crazy volatility. If we do start to sweep these lows, it would probably be a good opportunity to start to press back up to the upside for me personally, because I think that there's not, people don't want to get caught off sides. Like I said, they don't want to be involved in something that's going to push deeper down or rotate back up or snap out. So nothing to do but wait. Since we're just waiting, I gotta grab a napkin quick. I'll be right back. In the business of spilling coffee, so I need a napkin. There we go. All right. This is super tight, this range here. Opening range 830. 1 minute opening range. That's your first minute. It's trapped in there right there. That same level is here. So pushing back above. See how well we react to this weekly anchored VWAP, right? Both S&Ps and NQ are below that level, below tariff announcement high. Holding the all-time high anchored VWAP on the S&P, never quite made it there in the NQ, right? I mentioned in my Twitter post the other day that we were up and over tariff announcement high in the NQ, and we never made it there, as you can see, in the S&Ps. So there's a little divergence there. Above tariff high, NQ, not above tariff high in the ES. Below all-time high anchored VWAP in the NQ, but above it in the ES. So, like I said, slight divergences, and then you have your tariff low anchored VWAP down there that you can see. So this is just kind of giving me a good guide on, directionality, movement. But right now, it's not doing much of nothing. So we are just chilling here, waiting to see what we can get.
Sneaky Bot says there is no conversation between the US and China about a strategic deal of Taiwan.
There we go. So you can see that a little bit. Like for my strategy, it's very simple. I need to wait to get extension away from the VWAP, away from these congestion, middle of the zone, middle of nowhere areas. I want to see price get either down below overnight highs and previous day, overnight lows and previous day lows. I want to see it get up over previous day highs or overnight highs. Realistically, this previous day high may not work out for me to execute on unless I get some confluence from the ES. Like it would have to play together, but the proximity of the VWAP to previous day high does not actually give me a target, right? I don't have that reversion back to the average weighted price, right? I have just a level, and then I have to see what happens around that level. I would not have an ultimate target, although being pressured below would be something that makes sense. We have some pretty crappy weather today, so it may mess up.
So US Sneaky Bot, so who say security event in Munich? Got a live video, he's posting it out momentarily. Now up on the beat for those interested. He did just answer a question on China saying he didn't want to proceed the negotiations with China, but did say that they are having conversations.
There's a chance that this just stays sort of how it did all overnight session, pretty much all day. Yeah, we could catch a bid and just start to like grind in a direction, but as far as anything I want to be willing to take, it's going to be a lot of waiting, a lot of waiting.
Preserving dialogue with China.
Waiting, watching the clock. It's 4:00. There's nothing to execute. Like I said, Nvidia's pushing up a little bit, Microsoft pushing up a little bit. Everything's pretty much sideways, chop. Nothing of worth for me to even pull up. We got Nvidia there. Here's your Nvidia levels, right? This is the level I was talking about here, right? If I wanted to add it in somewhere around that level there, makes sense. Like I talked about, it could bounce from there, it could bounce from here, and that's really where that support is. I don't want to have it there because it's not really a key structure level for me, but it's something that I noted while it was happening earlier, right? You want to see that 112.50 hold for longs, Should you break down below it, that could possibly bring us down into our overnight lows for our S&P and our NQs. There's our Microsoft stuck in that range as well. You can see just bouncing around. Yesterday we held above it, that upper end of it, and then dumped right back down in pre-market and then sat on that level. After hours. Same thing here. Pre-market got down to that 431. So you're stuck in this 431 to 435 range, 432 to 436 range per se. I'll show Apple just because you see a bounce at that key structure that I've had for some time now, 197-ish, 197.50. Apple could bounce, which could continue this on. Let's see what Tesla's doing. I'm looking Mag 7 names, Google. You got Amazon, Meta. It is not.
But it took a long time.
Yeah, it's gonna take a little while, buddy. So like I said, just watch your shows and I'll bring you back there, okay? And we're back to our main screen. Do you need something?
I really want my music.
I know what you would like, buddy. But right now we're not doing that, okay? Give me 1 minute.
1 minute.
Chief Counsel says the situation in Pakistan is very concerning. The EU is trying to mediate and bring tensions steady. US VP Barnes says, I think we can have a better trading relationship with Europeans if they would drop trade barriers.
Alrighty. 1 minute opening range held for now.
The market is open.
That's not good. What was that? I hate when it does that. Some sort of news, nothing. Yeah, we'll see what that was. Tesla? It was a Tesla news. What was the Tesla news? Reviewing its annual production goals due to tariff uncertainties on vehicle imports, the U.S. automakers face supply chain issues and increasing car prices. So Tesla reviewing some production details, which gave us that push down in the NQ and the ES. So that's what we saw there. NVIDIA is still holding. Nothing to do there. This is it. Just sideways action. Back to 1. All right. Like I said, today is a don't do dumb shit kind of day, right? We have FOMC at 1, and then the press conference right afterwards. Really, it's going to be a nothing burger, but it could be a surprise, and you never know, right? You got interest rate decisions. They're looking to hold at 4.5%. The press conference afterward at 1:30, Powell probably comes out and says all the same things he's been saying. You know, doesn't really want to shake the boat. That's not his game. So we'll see if there's anything surprising during that. I don't trade the actual meeting itself unless I really think that we're at a key structure level. There's something that I can pull up. But in the meantime, like I said, we've been stuck in the 1 minute opening range, which tells you that we're not going anywhere, right? We're just kind of limited in actual participants that want to see this price do anything, right? They want to be on the sidelines. They want to keep their hands off. But also that sort of plays well into my strategy if we get to that point, right? So if we get to the spot where we're trying to push down below these levels, do you think that before, if we're sitting on this all-time high VWAP in the S&Ps, do we think we have enough information pre-meeting to want to flush down below it? I don't know. I think that there's actually interested parties in buying here, buying there. There's a good reason that pre-meeting that this level could hold. Could it break through, rotate back down, and even end up down here? It absolutely could pre-meeting, but based on the volume and how everything's been going and the price action already here for the first basically 30 minutes of straight sideways action and all overnight, right? I drew up these overnight levels last night on this candle, on this movement. I came into the office to lock out my risk settings to make sure everything was good and ready to go. I drew the overnight high, overnight low, put in my previous day high and low, and it didn't move the entire night, right? It's been stuck in the middle of that zone. I'm on the computer. I'm live, buddy. So I'm not going to give it to you until you're ready. It's not ready yet. I told you what you have to do. Talking to the kids. But yes, like I said, sideways action, below previous day high, below today's session VWAP. We are below weekly anchored VWAP right here. So there is still that selling pressure from that Monday high, right? We came back up, popped, failed. I don't anticipate this being a big sell side pressure. We're more in a range than we are in a trend, so just be careful with that. I am the same thing here, below anchored VWAP, above all-time high anchored VWAP, looking to use that as support. If we can get above this level, 56, 55, and start to rotate back up, I would expect that to continue to push into tariff announcement high after the meeting today, potentially. We'll see if that's the case or not. I don't really have much more than that on there. I'm just going to be watching to see if we can flush that low. Like I said, the thesis for me is nobody really wants to get caught off sides. Nobody wants to be stuck short, stuck long. That's why you're getting this pinball action. A lot of the bigger participants aren't playing around right now. It is algo kind of driven right here. So we're hands off in the middle of away from levels, right? Keeping myself accountable. I could go through this whole stream and not execute a trade, be done for the day, walk away a happy man, not down any money. But I could sit here pretty much all day and just watch this go sideways and kind of just understand, maybe what people are thinking in order to get an idea on the table. My idea, like I said, same as yesterday. We'll go over yesterday's trade just to kind of kill some time on this. We opened on the overnight low, flushed it initially. I did not take the initial bounce because I did not trust that it was ready to go and get going, and I was pretty much correct about that, right? We pushed into, kind of disregard this previous day low because that was after the fact. But actually it was before. We had overnight lows here at 829. So our overnight low was this 83 level. We waited for that pop retest. We flushed down below it. We waited for the S&Ps to come on down. This retested that right there. That was that retest here of the all-time high anchor VWAP. We held that level, started to rotate back up. Once we started to rotate back up, we took the long through the 83. I think I got filled at 87. I think that was my fill at 87. I can on here because I got moved to my new account on TFD. So I passed their assessment phase according to them, and now I'm into the new phase. So we're moving on up. But we took the long through The overnight high at 80. I'm gonna call it 83 to 87, and then we just trailed out up towards VWAP. I ended up trailing out in this congestion area here, which was fine with me. Hit my daily targets, passed the evals, made $800 on the XFAs, right? But you can see how we continued on through VWAP, and then you held that VWAP all day. I got a second entry on another XFA here and really killed it on that trade as well. But what I'm looking for here right now is something of this nature, but over in our range here, right? I'd like to see people think that, okay, maybe we're going to get short, maybe it's going to continue on, maybe it's going to be a trend day, then fail and rotate. The longer we stay down here, the lower this anchored, not the anchored VWAP, the daily session VWAP will pull down, which will make a failure of the higher levels also a valid entry, right? If it's just going to sit here and then there's going to be the VWAP's going to be right there, I'm not really super inclined to take the previous day high. I'd rather take the overnight high failure. That's a higher probability for me. It's a little bit more extended, further away from VWAP. You good? Okay. Yeah, so that staying below this VWAP, probably rotating, maybe a retest of the opening range, pushing back up for those of you who do that. But I would just be careful. Like I said, it's right in the middle of nothing, like all night, low volume, low volatility, not a lot of movement that could be capitalized on unless you shorted this high and then just rode it, which is unlikely that you did that. Because there was no real reason for this to happen anyway. It was just like a crazy spike from the AMD earnings, I believe, and then we kind of rotated around. I would like I said, to see this anchored this session VWAP pull down deeper. Let's see. Fresh. If we could get this anchored VWAP down into like here, then any sort of failure of these levels could make more sense to pull back. You know, if you get a push into here and then you fail down into that area, that's more of a higher probability trade for me. More ideal trade location would be up here as opposed to down in this. You know, if I only get here and VWAP is right there, I don't have the risk to reward that I would like in that trade. It's really what it comes down to is allowing your setups to come to you and then figuring it out. Tesla's trying to push through that low again. I've switched it over from Microsoft because they did drive that. Microsoft is pushing up, NVIDIA pushing up. You can see Microsoft here held that low, rotating back up. I would anticipate some rejection here at that 435.17. And then NVIDIA also there. We're pushing from that level where I was talking about earlier, that support from 112.68, 112.60. That area there, push back up. We'll see if it pushes into that 113.70. If you can get the fact that Microsoft's already at that level, I would anticipate NVIDIA probably selling from VWAP a little bit if it is going to sell. If we're going to continue to get a pump, if this is going to be one of those days where now we just grind trend up, then the grind trend up will just keep going, and we'll see what happens at the meeting. But I won't get an entry because I don't have a low volatility, low volume day grind entry. I don't think anybody really does. If you do, it's really more structure based, and you just entered and forgot about it and let it go. There's no real criteria for good entries that I'm seeing right now, unless you're maybe playing breaks of opening ranges and stuff like that you'll have to do. If you're in the chat, like it, subscribe. That'd be cool. Trying to get back into the streaming game. See how I do it. There's the rejection on Microsoft. I really got to get back into equities when I can, right? The levels play. I've if you've watched the stream at all for any period of time whatsoever, I'm consistently giving decent levels. Talking through potential ideas and giving you the opportunities to kind of capitalize on things like this. Like Microsoft clearly wanted to get to that level. It was an area of interest. Could you have shorted it? Absolutely. And then because Microsoft did that, I was talking about NVIDIA failing VWAP and selling from there. And what do you know? That's what you get. So just kind of ideas that I throw out there and hope that people can just start to learn and do on their own and start to visualize the just simple ideas that you need to do to make this market kind of work for you.
into a news that Vietnam buy a great amount of US products.
Oop. So NVIDIA did clear out that that VWAP, not super high. Let's see, you're right there. I gotta make sure I'm on the right screens. I need to get one more monitor just for streaming stuff because I do use all of my screen space for charts and trading, especially with my main account here, the TFD account in the main screen. This one, and then I have my XFAs on another screen. I want my executions to be available when I need them. The good thing about what I do and how I trade is I don't necessarily need to be click, 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 going back and forth. My ideas will come to me and I'll be able to eventually allow them to set up, and then I could set my orders on both, which makes it a little bit easier to manage multiple screens to stream and then some chats here and there. But I do want to put a monitor maybe up here. Maybe I'll put it on my son's desk and I'll turn it towards me so I could have the stream ideas stuff over there and then my charts so I could just manage the charts. But for now, we're going to just chill. Again, like I said, I am hands off when I'm in the middle of nothing. Like we're in the middle of nowhere. I mentioned here we are below this weekly anchored VWAP. This white line is weekly anchored VWAP. The yellow line above, I will move that so you can see it. This is the all-time high anchored VWAP. And then this one, move that over so we can see it. This is the tariff low sell-off, basically swing low anchored VWAP area, right? We're kind of in the middle of that in all of the NQ. S&Ps, however, we've held on to that all-time high anchored VWAP. This is the weekly. We're still holding below just like we are now. You're going to get very similar price action on the weekly, very similar anchor VWAPs for the week sessions, very similar in S&Ps to the NASDAQ, but you will get some divergences and there will be opportunities there. But right now, you can see basically very sideways action on both support levels, just kind of hanging out, still below that tariff announcement high now on both. So that is a slightly bearish indication, but we're kind of in that, like I said, grinding type behavior. I think once FOMC kind of clears out, you're going to be able to get a little bit more movement maybe later on and possibly get a trade in later if that's what you want to do. I won't trade the close on any of these accounts. I've made money on FOMC day post announcement, more on days where there is an anticipated cut or hike, but today is just a stay, right? It's a anticipated hold rates. Let me pull up it up here first before I pull up the wrong thing and it's a mess. FOMC watch tool. Use these tools to your advantage if you can. I will pop them in there. I'll pop this in here. These are little things that I just keep eyes on, right? Only 1% of participants believe that there will be a cut, which is really, I think they just can't put it at zero. There's no way. It's a 99% chance that we are staying the same, keeping the same current rate, 99% in the rest of the ways through the next meeting, June. It's a little bit different. There's a split difference on if we're going to cut at all. So by July, it's anticipated we may cut, right? I don't see that even still. Powell and Trump are on different pages, so we do have some divergence there as far as who thinks what needs to be done, right? And I think realistically, there's no real pressing reason for them to be cutting rates currently at this moment in time, but that's just my uneducated outside thought process on it. All we know is for today, everybody is in the camp that we're holding rates the same. So then when nothing happens, then you're just going to get the algo whip, and then maybe the trend develops in either direction depending on where they think they want it to go, right? So it's all dependent on this. And then really the press conference afterwards, the press conference is what's going to move markets in any sort of direction. Powell's going to say hello, and then it's going to move, and then some other stuff will happen, and you'll get a little bit more movement. But NVIDIA pushing up over VWAP. There you go. NVIDIA right there pushing into that resistance. Let's watch it just for a minute just to see what happens there, because you got Microsoft also down lower, not quite making it to that level, but they're both there. So there's a good confluence to, is it going to break out now or is it going to sell? S&P's is sitting at session VWAP. So I always have to zoom out. If you notice that that's a habit that I get into on the TFD X, Top Step X, the Project X platforms, the VWAP will not populate correctly unless you have all the data from the session. So I always zoom out to that 1700 mark to make sure that my VWAP is at the correct location, because I don't want to be using the wrong data in my eyes, right? I don't want this to show me VWAP down here and, oh, okay, I'm thinking we're above it. We're showing some strength, and it's not, right? So if you do trade on any of the Project X platforms and you are a VWAP trader at all, or use it in your analysis, really any indicator, any data, zoom out till, for the whole session. Make sure that when you're on, the 1 minute, the 5 minute, whatever, 30 minute, make sure you get the whole session in there so you can get the full amount of data in order to get the proper information. Because if you think that you're trading VWAP and it's down here, then you might be entering something on the most not correct information, right? So there we go with NVIDIA. I think my levels are pretty solid. These aren't levels that I just drew up. I've had them for a long time now. I usually do some cleaning up of my names. NVIDIA, Microsoft. I have some levels on Tesla here and there, and then Apple. The rest of them, I kind of just eyeball session to session, because I'm not actively trading equities. I'm trading futures, and I'm just using the equities as confluence to help with my ideas. Should you wonder. I check the Discord every once in a while for the TFD just to make sure we have some good conversation in there. I think that it's one of the cleaner Discords still. Not a lot of nonsense going on yet. As the company grows, I'm sure the trolls will show. But currently there's some good trader chat going on in there, so I like to get in and say my piece. Like I said, we're grinding below VWAPs. S&P's at VWAP currently. Excuse me. Sorry for the cough. Checking Twitter. Got nothing here. EU seen targeting U.S.-made cars with tariffs if trade talks fail. Mexico seeks lower tariffs on steel and aluminum. U.S. seeks to expand leadership in the IMF and the World Bank. Trump thinks goal should be 5% spending on defense in NATO. Nothing really moving as far as tariff information in the news. anything comes across my wire, I will make sure to let you know. Once the stream gets back to the health that I used to have on it with multiple viewers, obviously dozens of people, and who knows how big it can get when we actually start getting into it and really doing it consistently. Once I get into it more, then I'll start doing more maybe pop-up notifications in the stream itself, so you can see real time as far as the YouTube lag. Maybe I'll try and figure out this weekend how to make news feeds pop into the stream somewhere, maybe up in here, where you can say, okay, what was that spike? Boom, there's that news pop up, for what we're looking for. So I'm gonna see maybe Financial Juice or somebody, if one of these squawks, that I can get live data feeding into my stream, and that'd be pretty awesome. Little things that I like to see if I could upgrade one little thing at a time. If you're trading, I don't know what you're in. There's not any real reason to be smashing buttons right now. You have the only thing I see currently right now is that the S&Ps are butting up against the session VWAP from the beginning of the session at 1700 last night. NQ still has a little bit of ways to go to get to VWAP, but not much. We're holding below it. We've been in sort of like a grinding downtrend. Maybe you have a short idea, but like I said, I'm not executing on that. I don't execute at VWAP unless there's a reason to. There's not really a big reason for me on this. There's not enough volume coming in for me to capitalize on an immediate move that I would normally get off of VWAP in a more volatile market conditions, where you're going to get a tick or you're going to run through it, kind of sit above VWAP and then fail VWAP, right? The failure to accept above it would give me the opportunity to short it. Or on the other end, same deal. Very similar to my strategies at the other levels, but the other levels I'm looking to target VWAP. If I'm at VWAP, I'm looking for more failures of it. The one thing that does help this idea of a failure is NVIDIA running into my key structure level and selling and running right through its VWAP, right? But Microsoft is holding, right, the upper end of that area. So if Microsoft does get some strength, push through here, then you could potentially see NVIDIA wanting to also move to the high side. There's nothing holding these names back right now at the moment other than this rate decision, which is going to be nothing for them. These are more going to be affected by these tariff decisions, these headline risk type moves. So I would be more conscientious of headline news. There's nothing for me to execute, and so I'm filling the dead air. Hopefully I'm keeping you company. If you're on here, if you're not, if you're trading, good luck. I'm just looking for any sort of news. $9.30, if you are an oil trader, make sure you know that there is back in the business with the stream, but also at the same time, this is, as much as I'm not executing and I'm not hitting buttons, and we're kind of just talking about just normal, regular, whatever. I think realistically, it's helping me from finding something that's not there, right? So a lot of people don't like to stream, don't think that it's beneficial to them. because it's distracting, and it is. And there's times that when it's moving and when I'm trying to talk through an idea and it's happening kind of quick, I pause myself a little bit too much on the idea, but I'd rather miss a trade that I was borderline anyway on because I'm streaming than start hammering into things like right now where you're getting congestion, people thinking, okay, maybe now's the time it's going to sell, and it's just going to snap you in, snap you out, and be in that little bit of a danger zone right now, right? This is the thing about VWAP is a lot of people want to execute there. There's ideas, but they also know, algos know, and we can just kind of whip you around a little bit here and grab a lot of liquidity around that VWAP area. So that is a reason to be cautious as well, especially in a day like today where you're in defense mode, right? Nobody's really being super aggressive, and nobody wants to be caught with their pants down on the wrong end of an FOMC trade because it could go and run you over, or it could just grind like it's been, right? Every time you think, oh, I'm going to short it, and it just kind of grinds up a bit more. I'm going to short it. Oh, it grinds up a bit more. The chances are it's going to continue to just grind up a bit more because there's nobody big looking to see this start to snap up and for no reason and be on the wrong side of it. And like I said, the closer you get to that VWAP, the closer you get to these congestion areas, the more it's going to just be a bit trappy. Let's call it trappy. Microsoft is also, like I said, once again, looking to break its head through that 435.17. If we can snap through there, you may have some back into this zone here, right? That, for Microsoft, this zone here, well, let's just do this. I have that magnet on. It probably gets stuck in there until afterwards. So if you do break above, it's going to try and get through this congestion area. And I would assume on a day like today, unless it snaps through and gets some really good news or something, that you kind of get trapped in this zone. Maybe you try and play the edges of it. But for me, I'm not obviously trading it. I'm not trading equities right now. But that's something that I look at. What is going to happen once we do break through, right? Like yesterday when I talked about the trade, if you go to yesterday's stream and you check out my analysis running into the entry, if you see what I was talking about, that 806 level was over here. Let's go back to it. I mentioned before it even happened, right? So if you don't believe me, go back to the stream. You can see it all exactly live. I have no reason to lie to you. We pushed up into this 806 level right here, 805.50, 806. What I said was at this level on the way down, we were talking about it. I said this is probably an area where you get some resistance, but if you break through, it could do what we want it to do in order to get back to the upside, right? And I said when we come back to it, that's where it's going to stop. Sellers are going to try and defend it, and until they stop defending it, then that's when you're going to get the move, right? So what happened? We came through it. We flushed it. 806 right here. Came back through it. Rejected it the first time to the tick, right? 806 right there to the tick. And then the next time through it, sellers gave up. Pressure came on, and then it never came back to that 806 level. So I do have a decent eye for levels if you listen. I may throw some out there randomly that could help you in your executions. They might not be important for mine at the moment. Crude oil inventory is coming out here in 10 minutes. Oh, it came out early. Oh, no, I think they might. They're talking about the forecasts. Forecasts are for a draw of oil at 2.696 million and the gasoline at negative 4.002 million barrels. So let's see what they come out with. if you so are inclined to watch this here and there, then I will be on as much as possible now. As much as I can, I'm going to try and stream. If I'm on, you'll get, hit the notification button thing so it lets you know. If I'm not on, you'll probably know because I'll post it. But every time I'm streaming, I'm going to post it on X. I'm going to post it on... I didn't post it on Instagram today, but follow me around. You'll find me. You'll find when I'm streaming. I don't know what's going on there. That was weird. Got stuck. So this is what I was talking about as far as that chopping type behavior that you're going to get around VWAP, especially also, look at this area here. You got this pretty solid level right there. Go with that right there. So that's a pretty interesting level for them to start manipulating around, also having VWAP right there. You can see how supportive it was over the last few sessions and overnight. So that's an area of interest. And NQ never made it to that level because that level on the NQ is going to be somewhere around here, which is at that VWAP level, and never made it there, right? So ES, once again, kind of leading the way into levels and then failing. But a lot of times I find that if it's going to do this, it's going to trap, then move, push up, then the NQ can catch up to that same level, then you can get the actual move. So it's been helping my timing a lot lately as far as moves are concerned, or ideas that I have, because I'm able to wait for the first move for the ES to trap, then push us into the NQ level. Then you have more of a better timing. Like sometimes I would get myself into trouble because we'd get so close to a level and I'd see NQ, ES, or opposite, and I wouldn't wait for both of them to kind of line up. And if I get in early on the NQ, maybe I get lucky, maybe I don't. But if I wait for this whole thing to play out where it traps it gets here, it pushes up, then we get into that same structure level on a short-term chart on the NQ, then I can absolutely time everything a lot better, right? I'm not going to just, but also, right, in order for this to get here, ES has to get through VWAP. So what I'm going to look for, if I were to, I'm not going to take this trade, but if I were to want to short VWAP on the NQ, I would need to see ES push up into these areas here, hold for a little bit, allow the NQ to catch up to VWAP, probably this structure level, stay here for a little bit, and then I want to see ES lead us down through that yellow line, that VWAP, that green line. Then that gives you the confirmation to say, okay, if the NQ is still holding above it, the next time through that level, that could be the true timing of that short move. So that's what I want to see right now as far as what I think may play out. Like I said, it's not one of my A-plus setups. It's not something I really want to execute on. Today is an FOMC day. Another confluence for that type of idea would be if Microsoft and NVIDIA held resistance, but Microsoft just broke through that level and has entered that congestion area of 435 to 436. So it's holding above that level. This could push, right? So watch what happens. See if that's something that happens, and you can kind of just note it. If you want to talk about what I'm thinking about here, is you get this to push into here. It pushes up into here, but this needs to go first. This needs to hold that and then come down. We never got to this level here because the S&P's never pushed up, right? So if I'm trading the NQ using the ES levels, I need to see this get up here, hold. This needs to hold here, and then you fail it, right? It's still, the timing is not good enough for me yet. I need them to get to the same levels, and then when this finally does fail that level, that's when the timing is better to execute the trade here for the rotation back down. But like I said, it's FOMC day. I'm not executing that. That's just something that I'm thinking through as far as the divergences of, is this what's going to happen? How do I time it better? Working on timing executions, especially for short-term trades, timing is everything. You don't have to get the perfect entry, but you'd rather be right quick. Well, for me personally, I'd like to be right quick. I'd like to time it where I'm not sitting through grinding, chopping, drawdown, right? If I'm going to be wrong, it's going to snap. I'm going to be right, it's going to go, and then it's going to kind of look back. I think Lance B said the best trades don't come back. A lot of people wait for retests for their entry. The retest, if it's going to come back, you enter and it's going to come back and retest. Is that the best entry? Not necessarily, right? It didn't go right away. It doesn't have that full-on volume behind it, right? So I want to see this go. So now we're at that area, right? I'm talking through it. Like I said, I'm not executing this. It's not part of my strategy, but this is what I'm thinking about when I want to see this as far as timing is concerned, right? I want to see S&P push up into here, break out, hold that level. Then now you can get the NQ to push up into the VWAP. Then you got to see some sort of hold here for a second or however long. And then once the S&Ps comes down, breaks back down below VWAP, back down below this structure area, then the next break, NQ has been lagging, right? You see it's completely not over VWAP. So if we can get the NQ now to stay and hold over VWAP, the likelihood that it goes first and fails is not, right? It's more likely that S&Ps fail first. So the next break back down for the S&Ps would be the true breakdown for the NQ. That's how I time these types of ideas if I were to do it. So I'm not doing it. I'm not executing this. I don't say anybody should execute this. This is not a trade idea that I have back tested or any sort of, data behind. But this is how I read order flow and how I use the lagging indicators, of price action to help me make a decision on timing an idea if I were to want to short this. If this never fails VWAP, then NQ will never fail VWAP. It'll just continue on. Unless we get some crazy action in NVIDIA and Microsoft, that may lead us, but they're still heavily weighted in the S&Ps, so they still will lead us to the downside first. So you would qualify to say, okay, this could work as an entry now, but I wouldn't be triggered until the S&Ps breaks below 56.53, 56.50. Yeah, 56.53 would be fine. I would like to see the NQ get a little bit more wicky, but you're going to see in 10 seconds you get the oil inventories. Shouldn't affect these, but, weird markets these days. If you're trading oil, you could see the manipulation in it. So lower draw and actually a surplus in gasoline. So if you're trading gasoline, you got a surplus. So now you got to think about this, right? You're starting to see this fail. I would expect, since NQ is lagging behind on the upside for the S&Ps, I was talking about you want to see this hold, maybe even try and break above this level and then fail that and then look to rotate back down through VWAP, back down, and then you're really not going to miss too much on points as far as NQ is concerned, because if it's going to go, it's going to go really quickly. And that's how, like I said, that's how I time entries on ideas like that. I'm not taking this. Like I said, I'm going to keep reiterating I'm not taking this, but I'm just walking you through how to think through price behaviors and leading lagging type ideas, right? So if this just continues on and rotates and continues to push higher and goes to the previous day high, then the NQ will eventually follow and hopefully catch up. But you won't be triggered into something too early. Like right now, you want to short this. I want to short it, but I don't have the timing of it, right? Because the S&Ps is still holding over VWAP, holding over that level. So if you keep trying to just hammer short on the touch, that's why you continuously maybe get yourself chewed up at these very high interest levels, right? If you find yourself getting chewed up at VWAP, chewed up at levels, it's because your time, or especially because you're trading too big, or even for me, if I trade a full mini, I want to find the tightest, most probable entry where I'm going to be right very, very fast. And this is not it. You're not right quickly here because of the S&P's holding above. But now you got that almost break of the high. If it does and then fails, then you could have your timing, right? This is where you'd have your timing. Yes, you might not get the perfect entry right on the VWAP, but if S&Ps can fail, then you can now start to rotate the NQ down with more confidence, and then you can absolutely start to see this melt off quickly. You can figure out your exit criteria on it, right? I can only talk through your entry on timing on how to get to this and do it correctly, right? I got Microsoft also helping me out here, right? Breaking above and failing. NVIDIA hitting that structure level and starting to sell. NVIDIA, MES, starting to fail it. So NQ, until this holds below here, you still don't have a good entry. I want to see it break, hold this, and then you can go, right? That would be a good short idea for those of you who just want to kind of walk through that kind of idea. I don't have any. I mean, the more I talk it out, the more I like the idea, and the more I think it will work. But on a day like today, I'm not gonna just try some different entry just because I can talk through what may happen on this thing, right? So now you're getting that hold. You can now short this on the NQ as far as timing is concerned. If you start to see S&P break and hold back above UOP, and NQ's not there yet, there's a good reason to cut maybe, right? But you now have your timing a bit better. And now it's going heavy, fast, quick, right? I'm able to move markets in a direction with better timing by using more information, but just pure price action, right? It's not really using all these other indicators and stuff like that. It's order flow, but it's a visual order flow, obviously, because you could see the leading and lagging information. Right there, you were either right quick and now you're snapped out, or you're wrong and it's going to run up. But the likelihood of this continuing is pretty high based on all the information of what I just presented. If you break through the low of this candle, now you're going to get some heavier push, heavier volume. Hopefully, potentially, you could get down into 19,930s fast, right? Within the next 2-3 minutes. And you're in there, right? You never took any heat. Your stop now is over the high or wherever you're at. If you start to see, like I said, this start to hold and maintain that level, then you're out, right? You can get out before you come and stop yourself out here because you're using this to time it. So I think the timing of entries right there was pretty good as far as I'm concerned. If I were taking this, I'd be happy with the probabilities of I put the odds on my side a little bit better, at least with the timing. I wasn't going to get whipped out right away. Should this come in, grab that liquidity and fail and then snap us up, then you're out, right? But like I said, I think the S&Ps is going to lead you. You start to see this hold over VWAP, get out, because then the NQ is going to follow it. It's been lagging. Figure out which one's leading, figure out which is lagging, and execute off of that. I'd be happy with that execution, to be honest. Very thought out idea. I'm just not in the business of just shooting my shot on something random, especially on FOMC day, because it's a little bit shitty behavior. S&P looking like it wants to come back up. Microsoft still holding below, safe there. NVIDIA, though, pushing its head up just slightly. So that may lead you to popping up because Nvidia is the main leader. So now you see S&P is pushing over here. If it holds that, you can possibly cut yourself before you take a full loss. But if it rejects it and continues to snap down, S&P's respect level is a lot better. So you don't want to cut too soon. You want to make sure that it comes in here and holds, or it shows you some reason, or maybe there's some larger bids coming in, But overall, still good, still safe. If you're in the business of not cutting sooner, just leave it over the top and see what happens. It's up to you to maintain your risk management, understand what you're risking, and then potentially what your reward is. Rotational days, lower volume, could continue to grind back up. I didn't take it. I don't execute these randomly. I'm just talking you through how I think about timing, executing trades. So, yeah. I think that was a well explained idea if you feel like thinking through it. I almost talked myself into taking it. But I'm not doing dumb shit today. Today is don't do dumb shit day. Every day is don't do dumb shit day. You see, you're holding. Nvidia now rejected upper band. Microsoft looking to push lower. Still safe as far as those are concerned. Still holding below that 19,971. It's just not one of those days where you're getting that heavy rejection. So S&P's is now trying to hold, but now rejects. So it holds it, rejects it. You're still relatively weaker in the NQs. It wants to go down more than it wants to go up, it seems. Microsoft's starting to roll a little bit. Nvidia also. So safe, still good. That's how I kind of talk my way through these trades. Get these. Any sort of news coming through? Nothing crazy. Can the S&Ps get down through that level and help this NQ trade idea that you have go?
Is mommy charging because it took a long time.
It is a long time, right?
So can I have mommy's iPad?
I don't think about it. All right, I'm gonna go help this little guy out. I'll be right back. Not like I got anything on anyway, so we're just hanging tight.
US Treasury Secretary Bessent declines to say which countries the US could reach trade deals with this week, saying that it would be detrimental for US interests.
Alrighty, I have a fire inspection for the apartments in a minute, so they may come in. $20.
US Treasury's up 3%, says negotiations with China begin on Saturday.
There's not, like I said, the reason I'm not taking these ideas, especially FOMC day stuff like that, just not a lot of follow through on anything. It's going to be sort of grindy, low volume. There is a chance that it does just snap here because of that. But really, like I said, I didn't take this execution, but that's how you time it. That's how you do it in a way that's going to allow you the ability to catch a move without taking a lot of heat on it. Or if you're going to be wrong, you'll be wrong quick, and you could limit your risk. You could either get more size on for the same dollar amount, or you can just limit your risk, to a smaller loss. Microsoft selling here, Nvidia kind of just lingering up over VWAP. I think we're going to be seeing that thing sell eventually. Microsoft sold off kind of hard there. And now you're getting some tariff talk headlines, sort of. What do we got? Saturday talks are a beginning for talks, not an advanced discussion on China. Negotiation with China begin on Saturday. So that didn't really move anything, but it could potentially. Yeah, somebody's coming to check the apartment, so I'll just do. I'm gonna leave the stream running. I'm gonna keep bouncing back and forth between the people checking the apartment, and here. I don't have a trade. This is a nothing burger day so far. If we can get a nice hard snap up over the previous day high, I'm starting to get that pull view up down. Otherwise, like I said, still in the middle of nowhere for me. Not nowhere, but in the middle of zones that I just don't want to execute. My strategy allows me to stay out of the markets on days where there's no reason to be. If this is a full inside day of just this kind of movement, whether it's inside the overnight session or the previous day, right, or both, there's no reason to be executing, and that keeps me out of the chop. Let me get more coffee too while I'm at it.
The Fed also has a large T50 treasuries.
All right, Microsoft selling pretty good there. This could lead to some selling. I imagine that we're now going to get a fire alarm to go off too. So if you hear that, they're checking the fire systems here. this is holding up kind of stronger than I expect. But it's just still just a very choppy zone, like I mentioned. And here's the idea of where I said you could time it better. You actually got in on a decent candle if you did try it, and you could get risk off if you really wanted to, depending on your size, depending on how you manage it, right? It's up to you on whether you're gonna go to even, or if you're gonna move your stops, or if you're gonna trail out, or you're gonna take some off. Then it's up to you to kind of decide that. On Microsoft selling, Nvidia kind of holding over VWAP, but still one little push down could make this move. Nvidia and Microsoft, S&Ps can break down, then you will get that accelerated movement in the Nasdaq. So if you didn't hear the idea on timing or entry idea for this, then rewind it, go back, take a look. Like I said, I didn't execute on this. This is not something that I normally have, I'm not looking to do it, but I talked through the idea of how you could use this divergence to help time your setups and help be a little bit better at understanding who is the leader, who's the laggard, why NASDAQ short would work there as opposed to maybe even switching over to the S&Ps. But it kind of worked out nicely for you. I said if you can get down to 30s, that would be a really nice move for this type of environment. It could roll completely over, but overall, S&Ps is holding up, still holding up. Microsoft rolling over. Nvidia is running into its VWAP. If Nvidia can give up VWAP, you'll start to see NQ roll a bit more. There you go, starting to move a bit. You're getting a little bit of a liquidity there. So do I have a news? I'm not planning a visit to U.S. at the moment. Broad investor support in treasuries and auctions. No, nothing. But still rolling over. That was we talked about that entry right here. So if you were thinking about taking that, or if you wanted to hear how I kind of walked through the timing of waiting, and then executing, being a bit more of a hawk, kind of waiting for that execution spot, that's where I started to say, you time this here. Like I said, I almost talked myself into taking that trade, and it obviously clearly played out nicely. In hindsight, it's nice, but like I also said, I'm not looking to execute on a daylight today, personally, if I'm not going to get my A plus setup. If I'm not going to get the setup that I want, then I'm not going to take it. This was exactly what I was looking for on it. Like I said, if you can get the 30, great. If you get all the way down to the opening range, even better. It could rotate all the way down through the lows, and you can make some money on it. But be careful, be cautious. Nvidia is holding its VWAP. S&Ps is starting to push. It is leading. So if you can continue to push down in the S&Ps, you're safe on your NQ to trail, right? Maybe have a plan to take one off if you get back over 30 if you have more than one contract on. But I think realistically, that's the move you're looking for to catch on that trade. So really good. I like the way I talked that through. In the future, that's something that I'm going to look to take. What time is that at? 9:30. Basically, when the crude oil inventories came out, that's when I was talking about this being a good time. Not that the crude inventories had anything to do with it, but that was the time of it. So if you will go back to that 9:30 time, that's when I started to talk about the entry idea. I started to talk about these levels being the same, but NQ never got there, so you need to wait, let it catch up. Yeah? Yeah, they're coming in. You can go. Yeah, you can come in. Are you going to set off the alarm? Like all these other ones are going off? Or?
So keeping on the markets, we're seeing the S&P 500 pairing gains at the moment. It's up 0.25% so far.
All good? All right. Oh. That's a good idea there. Beautiful short. Beautiful move there, huh?
S&P 500 continuing to quickly pair gains now with the chart session. Do you want to stay up to date with the latest in new manufacturing news for not farm payrolls? Then sign up today and get our special offer when Apple News Pro, a year's worth of our service for the price of one month. Just 2% by Apple's Q. So Ria keeping us updated. China's President Xi now arrived in Russia. The Nasdaq 100 as well erasing gains, falling to a session low, down spot 2%.
Alrighty, still waiting. See if this overnight low comes in. Microsoft sold off heavy. Yeah, there's nothing wild news wise. That was purely technical. Some, Apple is exploring AI information stuff, but all right, I'm coming in a bit, buddy. Today would be a rotational day. If we could get below overnight lows, I would be interested, especially because of that full extension away. But I don't know if we'll get there. That test of that weekly anchored view up also helped. Very much. Relative strength in the S&P is still stronger.
Vice President share marks over US NCO review will take place in 2026 per the treaty.
That's it, we're done. Thank you, guys. You're welcome. Have a good day. You too. All right. I like this level. Let's see what happens here. As I mentioned, with timing everything here, NQ is leading us to the downside, right? We're very extended away from the overnight lows here. So if you do break through the overnight lows, you may want to wait for the previous day low in order to allow the S&Ps to catch up and get down to overnight low, which is basically right on the previous day low. So we can get that entry more probable down here than we do here. If it just ticks and runs, fine. I'm not involved in it. But there is a chance that it does work at our levels. So we will see. I just need to make sure we're going to approach it. I got to go real quick, make sure that everything is set, and then we'll take a trade. Possibly here. Good, Max? Alrighty. There we go. Alrighty, getting rid of all these things. Alrighty. As I mentioned, I'm going to be waiting a little bit longer for this. I like my A plus idea starting to set itself up. We are not quite there yet. This was a great execution if you were looking at it, if you heard the way I talked through it, like I said, I'm not looking to take that right now today because it's just something that I talked through. Realistically, if I was a little bit bigger in my accounts and wanted to just take a really small shot at it, I would have taken this trade based on the way I talked it out. It had a really good thesis behind it. The patience was there, the timing was there, everything was good. So if you did want to take something like that, that is a great execution. I don't personally take those just all the time. Like I said, realistically, right now, this is approaching my A plus strategy, but we are super extended, right? I was doing the same thing here on that short talk, right, at that VWAP area. I want this to be rotational, but we're so extended. So same type of idea with timing. I want to see S&Ps catch up and get much closer, if not at that level. This could be a key structure level here. Let's see. Right there. Just to have as an important level, not necessarily to trade off of, but that's good to note. That same level for the NQs is right here up above, right? So we're extended from there. All right, we're approaching it, thinking about it, would like to execute it if I get the opportunity to. However, I need some help from it. I don't want to just smack in and go. If it just ticks it and goes, that's not the A plus strategy, right? I want to see Microsoft start to get back above 431. I want to see NVIDIA hold this lower band of view up or this support level at 112.68, right? That's where we were talking about earlier. I need to see S&Ps also get down at least below this 56.21, maybe even down into that previous day low. But overall, I keep clicking into that. Overall, this support level, 56.11 and a quarter, is A plus money territory for the bounce. At least even if it's a dead cat bounce before FOMC to get through it again, I can't see any reason why we'd want to continue to the downside currently. We made it right to it, and we didn't quite flush it, so still waiting for that hard flush, that trap. I want to see a trapping type behavior. That's what I look for. We want to see traps. If it's not trapping, right, then it's not really an A plus setup. Right? That's my idea of a mean reversion, is not necessarily just to enter at a level and then hope for the best. It's to see if we can get participants who think that the price is going to continue in a certain direction and catch them off sides a little bit and then rotate there back to the other way. So approaching overnight lows, I think we're, probably likely to get there, likely to get, hopefully, S&P's a little bit deeper. Microsoft did hold that level and NVIDIA also, so this is where that becomes heavier here. If NVIDIA can hold below VWAP, maybe come back down again, Microsoft chop around a bit down here, then maybe we could hold and drift a bit lower. Maybe we get a push into that 1 minute range and then a hard flush down. That could be another reason, right? People entering here looking to get short through the overnight low. There's going to be stops here from people who already started to bid this back up. So maybe we get some trapping behavior, like I said, a hard flush, push through, then rotate back up. Microsoft is a nice buy. It was a nice buy through 431.94. NVIDIA holding VWAP, below VWAP, I should say. Treasury Secretary Bessent, the U.S. will always meet its debt obligations. Of course they will. All right. As I approach thinking about entering, I will let you know. You'll see it. I'll put my order out here. I have to take these A plus ideas if they present themselves. that short that I called out that I didn't execute on, it was a great idea and potentially could lead to people make a bunch of money on it. However, I'm not going to execute on that today. It's a good thing to remember now for myself as far as the thesis behind it and everything there, but I'm not going to take that on daylight today where I'm not really looking to put that risk on as much. If this was another day, I probably would have. NVIDIA selling off VWAP. Microsoft still holding over 432. Can we get this to play nice with us? Like I said, I want to see this kind of push in here, trap some shorts, even get close to previous day lows. That should allow S&Ps to catch up and start to push into those lows as well. Start to see a failure in the S&Ps. And the NQ has been relatively weak in comparison to the S&Ps. So my thought is that if it's going to start to gain strength, the S&Ps will start to gain strength first, then the NQ, and then we'll start to be able to get our reversion idea on, right? That's a very wiki low as well. It was a super supportive area. It was that 806, right? So that was an important level from yesterday. I'm just trying to see where I would want my buy entry back in. Should it get all the way down through? I like to see this type of wedging pattern into our level as well in the strategy. We'll see if we can get that flush through. Let's see. So, like I said, the first real touch in it, I'm not going to just hammer in an entry. I don't limit in because I know that these areas are places where, yes, I play fail breakdowns or I fail the momentum. However, it has to fail the momentum. It has to do that, right? I can't put a limit order here and anticipate that it's just going to turn around and go, because these are areas where people want to get short. They want to play that momentum through key structures. So I don't want to be run over. I have no opportunity to set my risks, set my stops. Microsoft is really catching a bid. So we're not quite able to enter yet. Microsoft led us to the downside. Nothing broke. Microsoft was breaking down, and then finally NQ and ES followed. Right now, it's pushing upside, and we're not following through as much. So let's see if we can get one more press down. Doesn't look like it on Microsoft. Maybe one more retest of that 432 area. 433 would be helpful so we can get down through our overnight low. And once again, like I said, if I don't have an entry, if it's not good, especially on FOMC day like today where things are a little bit less predictable, I'm not going to front run an entry just to get in, right? This isn't missing anything. This is just not having an execution criteria met. So it's all about timing, right? All about timing for me. If I can get this timing to be correct, relative strength is in Microsoft and NVIDIA. So you get a break of the low. If NVIDIA holds highs and Microsoft continues to hold, then that does give me some confidence in this holding and breaking up. But if we don't get the flush, then we'd never get the flush. That was a money short right there, huh? For those keeping score, you had literally no heat until here. About 167 points. I mean, even if you got trailed out there, 138 points. Or if you're still in, then still in, up 100 and something points. 130 lots down there at 21, 24. So let's see if that fills and flushes or if it bounces. 130 lots filled. Let's see. I'm going to increase this to 5. These are micros, so they tend to get bigger fills. I don't want to see 1s and 2s on the micros. I want to see bigger size on my time and sales to see where some of the larger plays are coming in. Like I said, that 24 had a couple hundred, almost 130 something, right? They all filled on the ask, but there was a bid sitting there, so it's interesting. Microsoft selling. Let's see if it can push a hard sell down to 433 and hold. Maybe give us that capitulatory kind of move down, and then I can enter my long on the other end of it. But this is a base, so it does present itself to be a continuation push. So I would wait. I want to see S&Ps push down. If I can get the previous day low, that's really more ideal for me. I would love to see it there, because then that can give me the ES confirmation. Normally, that's timing, right? Timing helps. I told you the NQ is more relatively weak, so it's going to break these levels first. If S&P is going to catch strength and start to support this level here, however, then we may start to turn right off of this level. But I think we can continue on down because Microsoft is selling. NVIDIA is holding below its VWAP. So we could get one more push to the downside. That would be ideal. And then maybe, hopefully, potentially down into previous day lows on like a nice hard break. So I don't have to worry about this dancing around here and making a decision here. S&P is relatively strong compared to NQs. So I want to see the S&Ps get deeper, approach those levels, which means that the NQs not necessarily going to react as ideally off of the overnight low as I would like it to. It could, and then, so be it. But right now, I need to see this hold. Microsoft still weak. NVIDIA still below VWAP. At the base, I would like to see it deeper also. So all those confluences sort of keeping me out of this at the moment. I want to see it get a little bit heavier before I start to think about an entry. Although, like I said, if I miss it, I miss it. But I think that the S&Ps needs to get lower first. Being patient. This, like I said, this is FOMC day. This is a little different type of day than I normally would be executing on certain moves here. So this is not a bad idea for me to hold out on. Wait. Be patient. If I don't click a button, I don't click a button. It's fine. I can trade tomorrow. It's okay. As long as I don't make stupid ideas and force them in when they're not quite ready for me to go, right? Especially I'm scalpy, right? I'm looking to be in and out quick. I don't want things to be dangling around like kind of right now. Like it's just hanging here. It's not really ideal for me. Although that 806 level from yesterday was pretty nice to break back above, which it just did. I want one more hard push down. It wasn't really capitulatory, but you did see higher volume on it, on that move there. So there were people trying to get in, trying to get short, potentially getting long on it, obviously. But NVIDIA running into VWAP. Yes, Maximus.
I don't know which one Endo was talking about.
Don't worry about Enzo's stuff. Just play what you want to play.
I really want to play it. The like he was on here on his iPad.
Yeah.
Mommy said he can have his iPad after he has a little.
Yeah, I hear you, buddy. Still waiting. I didn't get what I wanted to see out of that yet. And like I said, with S&Ps, Microsoft wants to sell more. NVIDIA holding below its VWAP. No reason for me to get long there. You could. My strategy is very discretionary, right? You need to be able to read what the market's telling you and not just do it because you're at a level, right? So many people get themselves into trouble, I think, because they just want to hammer in because it's at their level or because XYZ did happen, except they're not seeing the price. They're not actually understanding what's going on outside of their bubble of whatever the instrument is that they're playing. So for me, like I said, I use broad market strokes to kind of help my ideas on an intraday basis. And right now, my intuition is kind of telling me that's a bit heavier. Based on my experience with my strategy, this is the type of move where it necessarily might tick me in and fail, and then I'm not able to capitalize on it. However, it also does work time to time when it's leading. This green line, as I mentioned, was important for the S&Ps to hold. I still feel like it has a chance to flush it. It never really gave that hard flush. And since it didn't, I didn't want to get in on the NQ yet because, like I said, NQ is relatively weak compared. So if the S&Ps decided to turn around at all, this NQ is going to keep going downside, and I'm not going to get the immediate move, the nice pop that I want to get right off the jump. Microsoft does bounce. NVIDIA hanging around its VWAP. So if we can get a little bit of a sell side move from NVIDIA from VWAP to push down one more time, then potentially we can get either a capitulatory move or something that's a bit more telling that there are people trying to get short here that the market wants to screw over, basically. Timing is everything in this market, especially on the short term time frame. I like this wedging pattern that's going on here. I think that it's useful for me. I think there's a lot of benefit to this. Helping out here. I think maybe we could get pushed down again one more time.
Daddy,
Maximus.
I knew something was behind this wall. I digged it open and then I saw it.
Very cool. Yeah, like I said, this is not something I don't like to linger on my mean reversion because most of the time, if it's going to be a failure, it's going to be a failure quickly because they're going to get those people thinking that they're trapped and then run them up. So if it's not done trapping yet, then my strategy's not work. It's not going to work. And the rate cut decision's at 1:00. Like I said, I want to see this basically stay as an inside type day. So my idea will potentially play out based on people not wanting to be offsides above VWAP, not wanting to be offsides below yesterday's levels. So potentially holding these levels to rotate us back to, I would imagine, come 1:00, you probably are somewhere near that purple. That's just my prediction. It doesn't mean anything. It's just something that I think realistically makes sense. In and out, in and out, in and out.
Daddy, I'm killing pigs.
You're killing pigs? Sweet.
No.
All right, we're breaking above that little bit of a wedge. Not convincing, but Microsoft pushing up and NVIDIA holding over VWAP.
I'm pushing pigs into the wall, but that's the army in here.
That's crazy.
Now, where what?
I'm streaming, okay, buddy? So if I don't answer you, it's because I'm on the computer. Dealing with the little bit boy. There's the good move right there. So that was good. I mean, but realistically, like I said, I just didn't quite get the conviction I wanted out of it, especially with some of the heaviness that Microsoft was showing and NVIDIA rejecting its VWAP. Could this be the trap? It could. But I still feel like I'm going to get my setup.
No. How does that hurt?
Today is the day to potentially not take anything, but it's also the kind of day where my setup will work out when other people's doesn't. All right, I like to be able to. I have this. I developed my own kind of strategy around the majority of days having the ability to at least tag off on one of the four or five levels that I use, and then build a thesis around it, and then execute a plan accordingly. Right? That's days where you never touch any of the levels, then you don't have a trade. But the majority of the days, you're going to come and raid at least one of them, and you're either going to continue, and it's going to be a continuation day where maybe potentially I could get in on the other end of it. Most likely not, but for the most part, 75% of days try to be more inside days, especially during market hours. They don't extend too much. Trends don't happen that frequently, as much as people like to believe. So for me to find some extension, find my levels, establish a plan around them, and then use them, I pretty much can get some sort of idea every single day, right? We had this really good one right here, called it out and got people 100 plus points if you wanted it. I didn't, because it's something that I was just talking through and not necessarily my A plus ideas. And so you see this trying to fail. I'm going to get rid of that because I don't really like to have drawings up too much while I'm in here. When I stream normally, I'm only going to stream till 11, because normally after 11, I'm not going to get great setups. If I'm going to get something.
Excuse me.
Yes, Maximus.
I want to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I just broke through to the other side of the wobble place.
Very cool.
Now, where's that portal?
I will talk to my little kids that are in the room, and if that is something that you don't care for, then it's too bad. I'm going to keep doing it. Unless I'm doing it with some other companies and they don't want that, then I will cut it out. But for now, it's my stream. I do what I want, right? All right, we're going to see if we get another leg here. Ideally, what I am seeing here is that the NVIDIA holds over its view up, but pulls back to it, right? You can see here, we're up over it. I want to see if it maybe pulls back to here, and then you could support it. And then the same with Microsoft. I don't have the VWAP up here because for some reason it decided to get rid of it. That's not it. I don't want that at all. That's wrong. Delete this. All right, whatever. For some reason, my VWAP disappeared off of this one, so it's gone. But yeah, we're rotating back to this congestion area from earlier today. So now we've pulled back in NVIDIA right onto VWAP. Could it hold? Can we get our raid of this low? If I can get a raid of this low, and if S&P is going to decidedly hold over this, then I may use that as the thing. But like I said, I think if we do raid this low, we get to previous day low to allow for the S&Ps to kind of catch up. And the only thing that I think is keeping me interested in maybe potentially going long if this holds here is the NVIDIA holding its VWAP. So for me, that raid of this low or this area here makes it a sweep of liquidity. It makes it more convincing to somebody who wants to be short to enter, that saying that there's going to be momentum. And if they think that there's going to be momentum, then they're going to enter there. They're going to throw stops there. All that fun stuff, you'll get a pressure here, and then if that fails, that's when all these people panic out, and then you get your squeeze. And that's what I look for in that kind of move. And that's why I didn't enter on this particular spot here. Yes, it pushed up. I mean, could I have gotten 40 points out of it? Absolutely. It's great. But overall, I'm not really too concerned about that. What I want is better timing, and I think that we're still not quite there with the timing yet. And NVIDIA broke through its VWAP, so you can possibly see this thing pull all the way into here. Should it get to the lower band? Should it get to support at 112.75? Microsoft could get down to 431 again. That puts us probably back down into that previous day low area, which is that anchored VWAP from all-time highs on the S&Ps, right? That's another added layer of confluence that I would, A plus idea type move. I want to see these people get trapped into here. If it does trap these and get below, that 780, I'll throw a stop in here, because if it does get back above, then I will probably be better on my timing as S&P is still holding up. But if we're just going to sit on this level, the likelihood of it breaking and just continuing is higher than me just entering here and going, because I just see some heaviness in this market. And if it starts to get a trend this late in the day, it tends to keep it. This late in the day, it's on 2 hours in. Okay, so as I mentioned, if we can flush this low, that's where people who want to play momentum will play the momentum. And if it fails to hold down there, that's when I will get a buyer to step in and squeeze us through. And there's also 900 here. 800, 19,008. So that's a key structure too. I'll probably set my buy order at 806, because that's where I had it yesterday. That's where I had that breakout spot yesterday. So if we do flush the low, I'll give it to that area to confirm that it's going to go. Microsoft looking like it wants to get heavy through 433. It's holding there for now. NVIDIA holding below VWAP, but approaching it again. Waiting for it to give it to me. As I mentioned, I'm going to be doing this. If I do enter, I'm going to have my XFAs on one screen. I'm going to have my TFD account here on the main screen. I'll bounce around. We're trying to reclaim VWAP on NVIDIA. Again, Microsoft still just lingering around that 433. I would love to see this raid the low, sweep it, get rid of those people or enter those people in, and then get myself involved here. Microsoft held. NVIDIA is holding. It's a good reason to enter, but not yet. I want this to force my hand, right? If you want, I want to find reasons to not trade this, but it's giving me every indication that it's going to work out. So at some point here, I'll probably get into this if it sets up one. Realistically, it only needs to do one more thing, and then I can set my orders. And if it never comes and gets me, it's going to continue the momentum. But usually, that'll probably be 11 o'clock. I'll be shutting it down, shutting the stream down. I get myself into trouble midday. FOMC day, 1 o'clock for the rate decision and the meeting at 1:30. I will have no orders out there. There will be no chances of
Daddy, I'm back in the not allowed.
bamboozlement. You're back? All right, good.
I wonder what I'm gonna spot.
Oh, fire alarms are going off in the apartment stuff. So you're going to get some weirdness going on with the inspections around the apartments. There's a heavier player, a little bit bigger size there, 755. Nothing crazy though. You could just see the tape kind of wiggle a little bit at that area, so there could be buyers stepping in right now, based on just the tape itself. But nothing that nothing like wildly aggressive. I just saw it speed up. So there is some more interest here. Will this make this move now to the downside, or will we get some buyers to step in? This could be the timing thing, right? When I was talking about timing, the markets, it does matter because, you know, you could be right all day, and if your timing is wrong, then you're going to be out, especially with such limited capital in these prop firms. You're not really trading 50 grand. You're trading 2K, 1K, you know, whatever you got going on in your drawdown. This is a $1,000 drawdown. I'm not trying to take every single thing that shows its hand, but that is getting bid up there a little bit. Also, what's keeping me out, just to kind of give it to you, is I said that S&P's was the relatively strong name. It is not following through to the upside. It's not giving you the breakout first. If it doesn't break first, this should not break either, the NQ. So there's no reason for me to enter the NQ in anticipation for the ES to break, because if the ES doesn't break, then that means it's still relatively weak. There's still sellers here overhead pushing us down and keeping us in this area right here, right now. So as I mentioned, like I said, I kind of want to see this NQ lead us to the downside and MES follow, and then MES lead us back up. And then once you start to see the ES lead to the high side, then that gives you the entry criteria for the NQ to say, okay, we can go. It's time for the NQ now to follow up, because it's the relatively weak index currently, right? So talking it through, giving myself ideas. I always have to go try and go to the bathroom before I approach these levels, but you know, now we're here. Yes, sir. Okay, here we go. Can we get the raid of the low? Sweep this area here at 88. If I can see an S&P pop, I'm just hotkeying. It's going to only be one. Actually, it'll be 2 micros. And then I'm going to snap in my S&P, my XFA. It's heavy. S&P, NVIDIA holding its view up for now at 113.30. Could flush it here. Push us to the downside. Get us to that previous day low, and then I could get that in. Or we could sweep that low here and get going. But right now, it's still holding that view up. S&P's pushing up higher. Still didn't break that level, right? So it's still heavy. Still not ready to go. I'm looking to buy. But it's not in chop. It's in manipulation. Watch for the manipulation. If you see it, then you'll know it. The more you see it, the more you can recognize the timing of it. Manipulation is key to scalping success, I feel like, a lot. Especially, like I said, in this type of market, you more want to see a manipulation than you do want to see just like a steady buying pressure, because right now there's no reason for bigger players to be building a position. So what you want to see is an algo snap that's going to get people involved. Okay, I will do that. Let's go. Let's see if we can get that sweep. If we get the sweep, then I'm in deeper, but we didn't. And I'm going to get in triggered here, aren't I? Yep. That's on the XFA. And now we're in. Okay, so we're in on that mean reversion based on that wick there. I want to see S&Ps break above. It would be nice.
Look.
Hold on, Max. I'm trading. Whoa, look at all those guys. All right, NVIDIA is holding overview up. Microsoft, I need you to start playing along a little bit. Probably get stopped on this because I didn't wait for the rate of the low, but it's okay. S&P's a little weaker there.
Daddy, there's so many of them.
Oh, yeah? Okay, there we go. Some good pressure there. See if we can get the S&Ps to break up. NVIDIA's going. I love it, Max. All right, my XFA up 250 currently. Let's see if we can get this thing to squeeze now. All right, 60 bucks. There we go. This is a defensive method I'm using here on even because if it's not going to go now, it's not going to go, but it is going here. So we're starting to move. See if that's going to be a trap or not. If that's going to raid NVIDIA, if we can get NVIDIA through the high, then we should be safe on this. To trail out some, I'm going to throw my hotkey to 1 contract. So if I do decide to take anything off, it'll be there. I secured my $200 a day in the XFA, but I think this is going to keep going. So we should be safe to secure a pretty nice move on this if it's going to go. Mean reversion strategy working once again as far as like the entry criteria is concerned, right? I don't mind if this come back and stop me out for even because I took a shot at it slightly before I wanted to, but the S&Ps is trying to break up higher now. So if we can get through that opening range low and start to squeeze up, then we can catch up to the high side, get up to that opening range low. As I mentioned, by 1 o'clock, I anticipate being somewhere near that purple. So if we get up and through it, maybe you kind of would want to trail that out there, but it's okay to get stopped at even on this idea. All right, so the XFA, I made 200 bucks on that one. This one, I'm just seeing if I can get this play to work out a little bit longer. Just in case you were wondering, there's that $200. Grab that. I just got wicked out there, so we are holding down that low. Pretty good. Not too shabby. I am in buffer building phase for the futures desk, so if I can get my play to work out here, this could run up, but if it does fail here because the S&Ps is not playing nice with the bottom end of that opening range, then we're messed up. But NVIDIA is trying to break highs, so that's helpful. If NVIDIA can break highs, then we're good. If it's just going to rotate again off of this here, then we're going to get stopped out, right? So NVIDIA there helping us on the long idea. If we can break the high there, then we should be safe. And then I'm going to start to look, see what happens with S&Ps through the 1 minute opening range. It's all about timing, folks. All about timing. And I'm fairly certain I did a good job of timing that for you, allowing my thesis to play out, talking you through it, streaming, once again, helping me stay out of plays that I normally don't do and get into things that are more higher probability, right? Like even if I get stopped here, I'm out, small winner, but at least I allowed myself something that could go quick and start moving, right? I'm not opposed to taking small little profits here or there, allowing things to play out because this could squeeze and then go, right? But like I said, I kind of anticipate until we get that news, the FOMC decision, that the purple zone is likely for price to want to be in or around. So if NVIDIA can squeeze here, we're going to get a lot of help. If not, it could fail it and we'll rotate out. I'm going to take off one at a time, hopefully be able to get up to at least the opening range on the NQ here. Then I'll start to consider trailing. I can't move my stop, but if we go to that level there, that'd be nice. Oh, previous day high. Because the ES is running right through that opening range. Can we get through the high of the opening range? That could help NQ get up there, right? And if we do snap this high, which already snapped in the S&Ps, then I should be safe to be trailing my stop up into that support area below 30s. But I'm not going to do it quite yet because I think we still have a little pullback in us before this congestion. Once again, the congestion, that word I keep using. Yes, I trailed out my top step, $200, but that's another qualifying day for a payout. It's a different type of strategy. This, I'm looking to be more keen to allow my strategy to play out a bit, keep that stop a little bit looser. Not going for a home run, but I'm going for the strategy to play as far as getting up into that purple zone before really trying to start securing a little bit, which it's doing. Can we get through that high on the S&Ps? Get through the high of the opening range, 1 minute opening range. That will help us huge. There we go. So for me personally, yes, buddy. Oh,
I trapped them in there.
very cool, dude. If we get to this high here on the S&Ps, that's when we're going to trail. Actually, I'm going to start to trail that to here now because it should not come back to that. Not trading the P&L, just trading the idea of this on it. The top step one, I kind of did a little bit, trade the P&L some. Didn't allow it to breathe a little bit, but you can see NVIDIA gave us that help that we needed. That was the confluence there, the NVIDIA. If Microsoft can start to play along, you can see it's giving that base. If it starts to sell off, then we may look to shed on Microsoft indications. But we're looking pretty good. Strong still on this play. No doubt about it. Strong play here. Long. I'm not looking to go crazy with it, right? But I would like it to give it to me candle to candle at this point, right? There is a chance it continues to squeeze, like I said, mean reversion style, get back to VWAP, but the opening range in the S&Ps is holding that opening range high, that first minute high. I want to see it squeeze through that, then I can really start to trail in, secure my profits on this this trade. But there's no reason right now to get out yet if I start to see this sell. But Microsoft's starting to play a little bit. If it can help us out, then I will still stay in. But you see these tops here, that could be some selling pressure right into that. But if I can get through it, I will be safe. Not too shabby for the first day in the top, the TFD after passing. This is across two accounts. I'm copying it, so it is more than just $120, right? It's a $200 and something day. If I could just keep doing this continuously, patience, timing, proper risk management, allowing the opportunities to just come to me, wait, and execute when I think it's appropriate. The only reason I kind of want to be a little bit tighter on this, like I said, FOMC day, I don't think that they want to return it back to this low. However, I do think that there's a chance the sellers step in, you pull back, you get into this area here, and then you continue on. And I'm not trying to just secure a little bit of it. And the S&P is trying to pull a little bit here. If we can hold that, then I will not get out. But if we can't, I'm going to take one off below here. It's actually now NQ's trying to show a little strength because Microsoft just broke up through that base. So Microsoft broke up through that base.
Excuse me, Daddy.
Excuse you, Maximus.
I'm going to tell you.
What are you going to tell me?
Now I'm going to make one pit for the skeleton.
Okay. If I can get S&Ps through there, then this should be safe, but it looks like it wants to sell a little bit. I'm going to take one. Nah. Just leave it. I'm not going to take one because it's just small contracts here. Small size. Give it a little breathability. Microsoft failed that level. That's the only reason I think it's going to come back to us. And S&P's just tried to sweep that low there. So if it does continue and hold there, then this does get stopped out. But I think that was a really well executed on the timing. Do we think we can continue on? I do think that there's still some strength here. You know, will it come back down to here? Probably not. But today, like I said, is not the day for me to be trying those kinds of moves. Yeah, I gave back $80 on that but it was a good move, good trade. Overall, happy with the way we executed. Just on to the next. We have to tag these trades in TFD, mean reversion long, overnight low. And there you go. You failed it, and you're starting to rotate down. So good trail on it. Same deal here. Mean reversion long, overnight low. Both accounts worked out well. Honestly, after that, that's probably it for the day, especially on the TFD. This heavy push down now, I would imagine now potentially we could get that rate of the previous day low. I would look to see if I could capture that personally, but not on these accounts. That's it. I mean, we're up 240-ish because this is two accounts and then 200 on the other one. So $400 day, no base hit day. We'll take it. We had reasoning behind it. We had timing behind it. We called that short from the high. If you were listening, I talked through that. I didn't take it because it's not part of my setup playbook for, especially on days like it today, like I mentioned. I don't want that. Oh, and now here you go. Look, the VWAP is incorrect. You gotta zoom it out. I don't know how to go down, dude, on that. Oh. Relative weakness showed its hand in the NQ. Never made it to the 1 minute opening range. S&P's made it all the way almost to the top of the opening range. And that's the reason I trailed up there, is because I said it needed to get up there to the top of the opening range high and really kind of squeeze it. And it didn't. It never squeezed that high. So that trail made sense to kind of come in below this liquidity. If it's going to hold, it's going to hold. If not, it didn't. And obviously, clearly it didn't. Coming in hard to a level like this, you may see a quick bounce off of it also. This is, also sort of trappy, where it comes in with an aggressive seller into a key structure level and then shoots off of it because they just want to get buys back down here. But overall, like I said, NVIDIA's bouncing perfectly key off that level. There's your NVIDIA. And Microsoft is what kind of caused this to hold below. So I'm back to here. I'm gonna switch count. All right, so these are fine. I'm not gonna look to execute again on it because it's 10 minutes to 11 o'clock. Yes, it could work here again. Will it? I don't know for sure, but this was the move I wanted to capture. I trailed it as best I could. I got a high probability entry on it. I timed it well. I got the move. We didn't execute on this one, but I may look for that again next time I see it setting up, especially because of the way we talked through it. If you didn't see or hear the reasoning behind it, I think you should go and take a look at that. I'm going to lock out the TFDs just to make sure that I don't execute anything else. So there we go. Close out my day there. Small win, base hit, but I passed my account. I don't care now. There's no daily profit. There's no forcing in what isn't there, right? Take whatever I am given and then move on. I'm not looking to go crazy with it, right? So this is definitely what I like to do daily. I may take it on the second XFA. The other XFA is locked out. 212. And I might take it only if I see some bouncing in Microsoft. I want Microsoft down at 431 and NVIDIA down at 113, which should push us maybe into that previous day low, but also push S&Ps to an area where I want to buy. But could bounce from here and then we never get back. But I think that's a good reason to end the stream right there. I'm done. Like I said, I locked out. You can see personal lockout there. I'll show you right here. We are locked out here. I have one open XFA just in case I do see something that I really want to execute. But 212 on the day. solid execution on that trade. Could have been a much better trade on trailing this. However, I was focused on two different accounts, right? So when I'm focused on two different accounts, I will trail the XFA to a profit target that is securing a winning day, even in spite of certain criterion, right? So I'm fine with that. Now it's going. Now we got to bounce. Microsoft bouncing, Nvidia bouncing. I'm sure the S&Ps are bouncing right into that resistance area. So just be cautious if you did catch it. Start to use the confluences to your advantage. If you have questions, if you like what you see, if you don't like what you see, leave me a comment, subscribe, share with your friends, your family. I'm just going to continue to do this daily. It helps me stay consistent, stay disciplined. Same for you. I could have taken 0 trades today, but I did get my opportunity here for that long. We got a long here. That's where I got long, and that's where I called the short out up there. So overall, and I'm out right at that level there. So we traded well. This could have worked now on that retest, especially with Nvidia now scorching to the upside. Microsoft could pull us back. It is a congestion day. I did mention, like I said, that I wouldn't be surprised come 1 o'clock. I come back to the computer, and wherever price was, it ended its day up until the rate decision somewhere at or near this purple box. So, VWAP will probably be somewhere in that range, 19,900 by 1 o'clock. Kind of seems likely, unless there's a tweet or some sort of headline, right? But 5 minutes till 11. If you're in here, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Comment if you notice anything that you want to hear or want me to do or whatever. Share with your friends, your family, all that fun stuff. And then I'll be back on tomorrow again for the open. See what we can capture. See if there's any good trade ideas, good trade opportunities to come across. I will just continue to do it, me, by myself, or whoever wants to come in and join. I've been on a hiatus for a bit. So coming back now, I just want to start to build that consistency, come back here, start talking markets, start talking kind of just what's going on broadly, and then obviously execute trades for you, be okay with taking your base hits, be okay with trying to hold things and understanding the days you need to hold and the days you need to not, right? The trade really of the day there was this one. And like I said, I'm not going to execute on something just because I see it and talk it through. Although I almost talked myself into it, I stuck to my guns. I got to be pretty disciplined. That is something that I would like to eventually take, maybe on not an FOMC day. There were some things just keeping me out of it. But overall, everything lined up. If you want to go back, rewind to 9:30 or just before 9:30, probably 9:20, 9:15, we started talking about why that was going to happen, how it's going to approach VWAP, how all that's going to, play out, and then see what happened and what played out. And then also when I actually took my execution was here, took the long, and then stopped myself out at the top of the range of this consolidation here, because realistically, how much follow through are you going to get on a day like today, especially after this kind of move here? You're in a downtrend potentially. That mean reversion isn't the perfect target. You got to trail out based on the type of day.
Daddy,
But Maximus,
I was in my house and I turned off. I did this for I can't hear the noise.
oh man, you turn off the volume. You want to say goodbye to everybody? You want to get in and say goodbye?
What?
I'm gonna turn off the stream. You want to say goodbye?
Bye.
Hold on.
Well,
Wait, you
yeah,
gotta get in the screen, dude. Oh, say goodbye.
Bye.
Trade
Bye.
well, be smart, right?
Yeah.
Trade smart.
Yeah.
Give a wave. Give a wave. See you,
Yeah.
see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.